Okay, let's dive right in. Influencer marketing, it's massive, it's everywhere. Brands are pouring money into it.
Absolutely. But what's really going on, under the surface,
Yeah.
beyond the perfect feeds?
Exactly. What are the real risks? What actually makes a strategy work, not just look good on paper?
And especially if you're listening to this, maybe you're a brand manager running campaigns day to day, or perhaps your C-suite thinking about where to put those investment dollars.
Yeah, how do you actually cut through all the noise? How do you focus on what truly matters?
Well, that's precisely what we're going to try and unpack today. We've got a mix of sources lined up. Articles from Music Ally, the Fashion Law Journal, a couple of really interesting pieces looking at Dove's strategy specifically.
Dove, yeah. Always interesting.
And also a look at how technology, particularly AI, is trying to sort of navigate this whole complex world.
Right. So our mission here is pretty clear.
Mm.
Take these different perspectives, dig into them, and pull out the most crucial, actionable insights for you, the listener.
Think of it as your essential briefing. Get you up to speed with some maybe surprising facts and a clearer view of the whole landscape.
And we should mention this deep dive is brought to you by viralfusion.io. They're experts in influencer marketing, helping brands turn attention into revenue.
Okay, so where do we start? I think the Music Ally piece flags something interesting right off the bat.
The grind.
Yeah, the relentless grind of being an influencer, always chasing algorithms, managing fans, keeping up. It sounds exhausting, frankly.
It does. And it seems like that pressure might be, well, pushing some behaviors that are concerning, especially for brands.
Very concerning. The data points in that Music Ally article really jumped out. Things that brands absolutely need to know. Like, for instance, a survey found that 1/3 of influencers admitted to buying followers or engagement.
Wow, 1 in 3. That's not a small minority. That's significant.
It's huge. And it's not just about the influencers inflating their numbers. Think about the consumer reaction.
Right. What did the survey say about that?
Half of consumers said they'd unfollow an influencer if they found out they bought followers. Half?
Okay, so that's a direct line. Fake engagement leads to losing actual potential customers. It's a massive trust risk for any brand involved with that influencer.
Exactly. You tie your brand to that. You're tying it to deception in the consumer's eyes. It's fundamental.
And it's not just fake followers, is it? There's the whole AI angle, too.
Yeah, another big point. 81% of influencers surveyed are using AI to help create content. 81%.
Which, on one level sounds like efficiency, right? Maybe helping them keep up with that grind.
Sure, but then you look at the consumer side again, 35% distrust AI-generated influencer content.
They can sense it or just don't like the idea.
Maybe a bit of both. And even more telling, 61% think influencers should disclose it. They want transparency.
So as a brand, you're caught, aren't you? You want efficiency, maybe your partners use AI, but you risk backlash if it feels fake or isn't disclosed properly.
Precisely. It puts the responsibility back on the brand to really understand how their partners are creating content and if that lines up with the brand's own values about authenticity.
This whole mess around authenticity, disclosure, fake numbers, it leads perfectly onto what the Fashion Law Journal article calls the regulatory black hole.
It does. That article paints a pretty stark picture of how incredibly easy it is to just buy influence. Fake followers, fake likes, fake comments.
Creating this total illusion of popularity.
Yeah, an illusion that fools consumers and completely skews the market for brands who are trying to do things genuinely.
And the core problem is, globally, there's just no strong, consistent set of rules to police this. It really is a bit like the Wild West.
The article uses India as a really good example of this fractured landscape. You got ASI, the Advertising Standards Council of India.
Okay, what do?
They offer guidelines, good ones actually, self-regulatory, voluntary. They say, disclose paid posts with hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored, make it clear, don't use filters to mislead, be honest in reviews, all sensible stuff.
But voluntary is the key word there, right? No real teeth.
Exactly. ASI sets the ethical standard, which is valuable, but they can't actually enforce penalties.
So can.
Well, then you have the CCPA, the Central Consumer Protection Authority. They do have legal authority. They can issue fines for misleading ads, for non-disclosure. They even say influencers need to have actually used the product or know enough about it.
Right. So you've got the ethical guidance from one body, the legal power from another. Sounds like that should work.
You'd think so. But the article highlights the major gap: enforcement. The CCPA just struggles with the sheer scale of it all. How do you monitor millions of posts?
It's impossible, practically.
Pretty much. And add to that, many consumers just aren't aware of the rules or how to report things. So even with both bodies, that regulatory black hole kind of persists. Deception can still slip through.
And the fallout from all this,
Yeah.
the lack of transparency, the inconsistent rules, it's not just about brands wasting money, is it? The Fashion Law Journal piece really digs into the human cost.
Definitely. For consumers, it's broken trust, wasted money on products that aren't right, just feeling let down.
But it connects to bigger issues too, right? Especially in fashion.
Yes, the article links the constant push of new hauls and trends by influencers directly to the problems of fast fashion, overconsumption, environmental damage, poor labor conditions. Influencers become promotional engines for that cycle, intentionally or not.
That's a heavy ethical dimension.
Yeah.
And then there's the emotional toll.
Huge. Constantly comparing your real life to these perfect, often filtered influencer lives, feeling pressured to buy, making bad spending choices, unrealistic beauty standards affecting self-esteem.
It's a lot. The article puts it bluntly. Influence without integrity is basically manipulation.
And consumers deserve honesty. The current setup with all the fakes and loopholes often fails them.
Okay, so we've painted a picture of some pretty significant challenges here. Trust issues, regulatory gaps, ethical concerns.
It sounds quite negative, I know.
It does. But influencer marketing clearly works for many. It's growing. So there has to be strategic upside.
Absolutely. And this is where our sources pivot, particularly looking at Dove as a kind of case study in how to do it right.
Right, the Dove blueprint. They made a fundamental shift years ago, didn't they?
They did. They stopped just selling soap and started selling self-worth. The whole Real Beauty campaign, starting way back in 2004, it was purpose first, product second.
And that wasn't just a marketing whim. It came from data, right?
Exactly. Solid research showing over half of women globally felt they were their own harshest beauty critic. They tapped into a genuine, widespread emotional pain point.
And that understanding of emotion is key to their viral success, like with the Real Beauty sketches.
Totally. They understood that strong emotions, awe, surprise, anger, hope, are what make people click share.
Yeah, those sketches,
Yeah.
they really hit a nerve. They validated that self-critical feeling, created tension between internal and external views, offered that moment of hopeful resolution.
And compelled sharing. It followed what one source calls the optimal viral configuration. Validate feelings, challenge beliefs, offer hope. It's not accidental, it's strategic emotional design.
So the good news is, this isn't just Dove magic. The sources suggest a kind of blueprint, 4 steps inspired by their success that other brands can potentially use.
Right. Step 1, create emotional resonance. This is about finding your brand's purpose beyond the product.
Like asking, what do we stand against? For Dove, it was narrow beauty standards, or what's the outcome we want for customers? Confidence, maybe?
Exactly. Define that core belief and then crucially back it up with data. Show it addresses a real audience need, just like Dove did.
Okay, step 1. Find your resonant purpose. What's step 2?
Step 2, identify authentic emotional triggers. Understand what genuinely makes your audience tick. What are their specific pain points, their hopes, the universal truths that connect with them?
And then map out the emotional journey for your content.
Precisely. Think about the sequence. Recognition, I feel that. Tension, here's the problem. Resolution, here's a better way. Action, share this feeling. And a key tip, test the emotional power of your ideas before you go big on production.
Makes sense. Test the triggers. Step 3.
Step 3, build your creator ecosystem. This is where the influencers come in, but with a twist.
Not just chasing follower counts.
No, focus on alignment. Who genuinely shares your brand's belief and values. Map creators to that purpose, not just metrics.
And don't just hand them a script.
Definitely not. Give them a framework. The core belief, the emotional arc, the key message. But let them use their own voice. Bring them in early, collaborate, treat them like real partners. That's where authentic content comes from.
Okay, align creators, co-creation. What's the final step?
Step 4, execute with strategic consistency. That amazing influencer content, it can't live in isolation.
It needs to be part of the whole picture.
Exactly. The core message, the purpose, needs to echo across everything. Influencer posts, email, ads, your own social channels. Your brand needs to become a consistent perspective.
And repurpose that content smartly.
Yes, that great video testimonial. Turn it into quotes for your website. Clip bits for social ads. Use insights on packaging. Repetition across channels builds familiarity, builds credibility. and match the platform to the tone, short form for emotion, long form for story.
This blueprint really elevates influencer marketing, doesn't it? It's not just a tactic. It's woven into the whole communication strategy.
It is, and the sources even mention an advanced strategy, using creator content across the entire customer journey, not just for awareness, but for acquisition, retention, boosting lifetime value.
Which means you need different ways to measure success, beyond just likes and follows.
Absolutely. You need to track things like brand sentiment, are conversations changing? Use proper attribution. Can you link influencer activity to actual sales or signups using UTMs or codes?
Measure content amplification. Does creator content outperform your own brand stuff when you reuse it?
Yes, and look at audience quality. What's the lifetime value, LTV, of customers brought in by specific partners? Those are the metrics that show real impact.
It seems like the big players are moving this way. You mentioned Unilever.
Yeah, one article flagged Unilever's new CEO planning a huge shift, 50% of ad spend potentially moving to social, working with 20 times more influencers.
Wow.
And Dove, being their biggest brand, is basically already living the strategy they've been building for nearly 2 decades.
That hashtag share the first campaign sounds like a perfect example.
It really is. Their first campaign driven entirely by creators. No big studios, just leveraging those long-term trusted relationships and partners they've worked with since 2017.
That trust allowed them to be incredibly agile too, right? Reap to live in 48 hours.
Amazing speed. And it perfectly amplified Dove's core values, like their stance against using AI to represent women, because their creators genuinely shared those values. It shows their purpose isn't just talk, it guides their actions.
Okay, so navigating all these complexities, the trust issues, the regulations, building these deep strategies, measuring properly, it clearly requires expertise and probably the right tools too.
It absolutely does, which is a good moment to mention again.
Right. This deep dive into influencer marketing strategy and challenges was brought to you by viralfusion.io, experts in influencer marketing, helping brands turn attention into revenue.
So let's talk about those tools. How is technology trying to help brands deal with the scale and, importantly, the vetting challenges we talked about earlier?
Yeah, the sources mention platforms evolving here. Lionize AI comes up as an example.
Right, an AI-driven platform specifically built for sourcing, recruiting, managing influencers, but with a focus on performance, not just follower counts.
They talk about an AI agent, Lily. Analyzed millions of profiles.
Yeah, over 30 million, apparently, across Instagram and TikTok. The key idea is that their vetting goes much deeper, looking at, 20-plus attributes, not just follower numbers, but audience demographics, the actual content style, performance history, trying to find signals of genuine influence before recommending someone.
So the AI helps speed up finding the right people, not just anyone, and contracting too.
That's the claim. Accelerate the whole process, move beyond those vanity metrics that, as we know, can be easily faked, and connect brands with creators who deliver actual results.
And they mentioned training the AI on the brand's voice.
Yeah.
For safety and alignment.
Yeah, which ties back nicely to that consistency principle from the Dove strategy, ensuring the tech helps find partners who fit the brand's perspective.
So platforms like this are basically offering efficiency and hopefully smarter vetting through data, aiming to save time and money compared to doing it all manually.
Exactly. It's the tech side trying to bring some order to the chaos.
Okay, let's try and synthesize all of this. We've covered a lot of ground. What are the key takeaways, specifically for you listening, whether you're hands-on with campaigns or making bigger investment decisions?
Right. Let's start with the brand managers, the people in the trenches, day to day. First off, vigilance about trust is paramount.
That one-third statistic buying followers.
It's a huge red flag. You have to vet influencers carefully, look for signs of fake engagement, ask about AI use, and demand transparency. Insist on clear disclosure, like #ad. It's vital for trust and, frankly, for legal compliance.
And even if regulations feel patchy, know what does exist in your market. Follow the guidelines on disclosure, on ensuring influencers actually know the product. Don't just assume.
Definitely. And try to move beyond just one-off transactional deals. Build longer-term relationships based on shared values. Treat creators like partners, like co-creators. Give them freedom within a clear strategic framework. They know their audience.
And maybe the biggest shift for managers. Measure what really matters. Get beyond likes.
Yes. Track sentiment changes. Use attribution tools to connect campaigns to actual business outcomes. See how well creator content performs when you repurpose it. Look at the LTV of the customers those partners bring in. That's the data that proves value.
Think strategically. Plan those emotional journeys. Be consistent across all your channels.
Okay, now shifting gears slightly. What about the C-suite? Those considering the overall investment in influencer marketing.
First point, recognize this isn't a fringe activity anymore. It's a major, growing digital channel. Unilever's massive planned shift is a strong signal of where things are heading.
But critically, success isn't just about budget size. You can't just throw money at it. It demands a strategic foundation built on purpose, on connecting emotionally, not just pushing product features.
And building that real authenticity, those deep relationships like Dove has, that takes time. It requires patience and commitment. It's not an overnight fix.
Be aware that technology, like the AI platforms we discussed, can help manage the scale and complexity and improve vetting. They're tools to explore.
But overarching all of that is the need to understand the ethical and regulatory landscape. Purpose and integrity aren't just nice-to-haves here.
Absolutely not. They are fundamental to protecting brand reputation, maintaining consumer trust, and ultimately driving sustainable growth in this space. They have to be core, not optional extras.
So this whole landscape is moving incredibly fast. You've got AI being used more and more by creators to make content.
And brands using AI tools to find and manage those creators.
It leads to a really interesting, almost provocative final thought, doesn't it?
It does, as technology makes everything more efficient, more scalable, potentially more data-driven.
How do brands make absolutely sure that the core reason influencer marketing took off, that human connection, that feeling of authenticity, how do they ensure that remains genuinely central to the strategy?
And doesn't get lost in the algorithms and the automation.
Exactly. How do you keep the human in influencer marketing when the technology is advancing so quickly?
That tension between leveraging tech for scale and preserving genuine human connection, that feels like the central challenge for brands going forward.
I agree. So to recap, we've looked at the real risks, fake engagement, complex regulations, ethical pitfalls.
We explored the power of a purpose-driven strategy, taking cues from Dove's long-term approach.
And we touched on how technology is playing an increasing role, both for creators and for brands trying to manage it all.
Ultimately, navigating this effectively means going beyond just chasing followers. It requires real strategic thought, a commitment to authenticity and transparency, and building genuinely collaborative partnerships.
And this deep dive into influencer marketing strategy and challenges was brought to you by viralfusion.io, experts in influencer marketing, helping brands turn attention into revenue.
Thanks so much for tuning in as we unpacked all of that.
We really hope these insights provide some clarity and maybe some actionable ideas for your own work in the influencer space. Join us next time on The Deep Dive.